Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Monday morning the 5th of May and we're going to northeast Tennessee today to an isolated community in between Rogersville and Kingsport. The Beech Creek community, where the residents there are a breed all of their own. Of course, we're talking about the Summer Wells case. Summer has been missing almost 4 years. 4 years, can you believe it? We're now in May. Summer disappeared on June 15th, 2021. In just one more month, Summer, then 5 years old, will have been missing for 4 whole years. Who's looking for her now? Who's out there looking for her? Do the Wells still have PIs? I don't know. There's not that many people still talking about the case. One person who is talking about the case almost on a nightly basis is Prayer Garden of America. Now, I don't watch every single show she does. I don't agree with a lot of her opinions, but at least I give her credit for keeping Summer's name out there. And she brings up some interesting points. Recently, she had Melina Crawford on her show several times until it became very clear that Melina was inconsistent at best. Outright lying, you could argue. But we're talking today about Chad Arnold and what Don Wells, Summer's dad, has to say about him. Let's go.
Fred done put the word out to him. You say my name again and he'll kill you.
This is from last night, overnight my time. This is huge. Donald confirms Chad seen Candus looking for Summer Wells case. So this is Don talking to, I think it's the Crazy Critters on the Farm people. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he's asked, does he know Chad Arnold? And he says, yes, I do.
Chad Arnold was married to... No, he didn't die.
I thought he died.
Not that I'm aware of, anyway. But Chad Arnold was at Fred Hill's house when Candus was looking for Summer. She drove back in the holler to Fred Hill's house, and Chad Arnold was hanging out back there. I've been to Chad Arnold's house before, and he had all kinds of people hanging out in his shed. Is he what?
Was he like a meth head like Fred Hill?
Yes. Chad Arnold loves his meth.
Well, he does. So, Don was at work, wasn't he, allegedly? 40 or so minutes away in Jonesboro. So, who told Don that Chad was at Fred's? Well, of course, that would have been Fred, wouldn't it? Except for Fred wasn't there either. Because Fred Hill, from 165, 167 or 207, further down the holler than the Wells property, he left to go to the Scrappy, but then not go to the Scrappy, but was out of the holler, apparently in the Kingsport area, during that whole period, during that 3-hour period, between about 3:20, when they would have likely got home from the trip to Kingsport and the swimming hole and all of that stuff, and when the 911 call was made. Fred claims to have gone out about 3:30, 3:45, claims to have seen his neighbour and cousin Andy Bernard coming in as he was leaving. Andy Bernard swears down he was at work, and Apparently, Andy does have an alibi that he was at work. So I think, as I've said many times previous, I think Fred is just mistaken about the day. But Chad Arnold was at Fred's when Fred wasn't there, but Chad Arnold was. I don't know whether Chad Arnold was staying there or went to visit, but he was there on Fred's driveway when he saw Candus. What time was this? Well, Chad Arnold told Fred, so we've got multiple levels of hearsay here. Multiple levels of hearsay. Chad Arnold said he saw Candus at around 4:30. So let's look again at this timeline based on first-hand accounts. So we've got 309 Lone Star Road, Mirror Road intersection. That's where the milk jugs photo and video was taken. It's around 8 minutes or so, 7-8 minutes away from home. 3:47. Fred claims Andy is coming into Ben Hill Road as he's leaving. Andy disputes this. Then we've got a lot happening between 4:30 and 4:42. Jodie Sue, Andy's then partner, lives at 125, or he did at the time Summer disappeared. Between 4:30 and 4:42, claims to have heard a scream. It became muffled. Her daughter could still hear it, but she couldn't. Candus tells an unknown person, this was released by Crazy Crime Chick, at around 4:30 at the time of the scream. Candus says she didn't hear the scream because she was inside looking for Summer. The TV was loud, so she didn't hear the scream. So she's admitted there that she was looking for Summer between 4:30 and 4:42. Well, you might say Jodie just made up this scream. Well, possibly, but there's more. There's more, because also it's around 4:30 when Fred claims that his friend Chad saw Candus on Fred's driveway. Now, Don, again, is got multiple levels of hearsay going on here, because Chad would have told Fred that he saw Candus on the driveway around 4:30 as she was looking for Summer. And then Fred told Don, because Fred wasn't there either to witness this. So it's Chad who said all this. And then 4:37, Melina claims that Candus rang her to say Summer had been missing for about 20 minutes. Let me correct that spelling mistake. Candus. And she apparently told Melina that the last time she saw Summer was outside on her swing. Although that's not the script that we've all come to know. You know, they're planting the flowers, the candy from Grandma, they're washing her hands, they're going in to see her brothers. Brothers saying she went down to the basement, and then she wasn't in the basement when Candus went in 2, 5, whatever minutes later. The boys, aged 12, 11 and 9 at the time of Summer's disappearance, told Sheriff Ronnie Lawson, we hear this from the news channel WJHL, on the night of June 15th, 2021, that they last saw Summer going out of the basement door. So everybody's telling a slightly different story, but it all hinges around 4:30. 5:30 though, Jodie Sue claims to hear a heavy vehicle going up the Wells driveway. 6:09, Jodie Sue hears Candus and the boys shouting for Summer. Jodie Sue was at the top of her driveway, coming down the driveway. She could hear them. She's put that at around 6:09. By the time she's got down the driveway a few minutes later, Candus is coming out of her driveway. Like the driveways are almost like across the road from each other. And she's on the phone to Don. Jodie Sue speaks to Candus. Don's on the phone, and Don allegedly says, "Do you mean someone's taking my baby girl?" or words to that effect. And then, 6:26-ish, that's when the 911 call was made by Candus and by Don on his way home. And then it's just before 7 that Andy and Don arrive home as the first responders are arriving. That's the complete timeline. But guess who we've never heard from? We've never heard from Chad Arnold. Chad Arnold is the one that could give us a first-hand account. First-hand. Not multiple levels of hearsay, with Chad telling Fred, and then Fred telling Don, then Don coming online and telling everyone. Why have we never heard from Chad Arnold? Now, he's not obliged to come and speak to us, but after nearly 4 years, He knows, surely he knows by now, because Melina knows. And Melina, when she first came on Prayer Garden's channel a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever, it was to defend Chad. Chad Arnold is the long-term partner of her half-sister, and she came out to defend Chad and to collect some cash apps. But, you know, it was being said that Chad maybe knew that Summer's body was buried in a grave, in Timothy Morrison's grave, because he's a part-time gravedigger. She came out to defend him, to say he would never have done anything, he would never be involved in something like this. So Chad must know that people talk about him on the internet. Chad must know what's being said. So I find it interesting that he's never come out and spoken at all. Now maybe he's just cleverer than everyone else. He doesn't want to raise his head over the parapet because he's seeing what happens when social media gets hold of people. But it is interesting that after nearly 4 years, Chad Arnold has never actually spoken to anyone on social media out in the public. I'm sure the police have spoken to him, not a suspect. But then again, everyone's a suspect, according to Sheriff Ronnie Lawson. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you think Chad has got something to do with this? Do you think Chad's involved, or is Chad just someone who happened to be in the vicinity and has got nothing to say other than, yeah, I saw Candus looking for Summer 2 hours before she was reported missing? All right, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.